Welcome back to another episode of Blackpacking. I am your host, Jerica, and on today's episode, I have Anitrice with me. How are you?
I am wonderful.
This
How
tree,
about yourself?
I'm doing well. This tree is nice decor, but I realize I can't see you fully.
It's a little blockage.
How are you today?
I'm wonderful.
Yeah?
It's a wonderful Thursday.
It is a wonderful Thursday. I finally got my car back. Like I was telling you earlier, it's been a huge fiasco with my vehicle. I've had to take it back to the mechanic 4 times after they fixed it, my transmission, and it's been very stressful, but I'm happy to have it back. I recently wrote a blog about kind of how transportation influences certain cultures or has influenced certain cultures around the world, and vice versa, which you all should check out. It was a pretty interesting blog. I enjoyed doing the research on it because I looked up like gondolas in Venice, and how the double-decker bus became a huge thing in London, and motorbikes in Asia, and why those are a thing, and how they've kind of intertwined into the culture. And here in the States, we're so reliant on our cars. If you don't have it, it seems like the end of the world.
Earth-shattering.
Earth-shattering, yes. And I talk about how we've kind of gone from taxis to now Ubers and Lyfts being a really common thing. That's an interesting concept of kind of having someone else that you don't know drive you around.
Right. Yes.
And that since I was looking at getting a rental car, and I saw this app. I'm not gonna say the app or anything because I don't want anyone to think that they sponsor me. Yeah,
right.
But they're the Airbnb of cars. You can rent other people's cars.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that neat?
That's
And
interesting.
it's actually cheaper than doing it through a rental car. Yeah, so rental car services better watch out, because I think this app is gonna take over. And same type of thing, people can read reviews. It's the same the same process of renting a car. So that's kind of where the future is headed. But transportation is ever evolving, and plays a huge role in our culture. What would you say is the most unique kind of form of transportation you've been on?
Wow.
Or seen?
Okay, so interesting question. Actually, when I was in, where was I? Cape Town. I went there on missionary work. We were actually walking down the street headed to Green Market, and one of the ladies who had previously been to Cape Town was pointing out this sort of a 1970s minivan sort of situation, but it was packed with people almost on top of each other. And I was just like, wow, that's interesting. And she said, nope, what happens is it stops at random places and you just pile in, and then wherever it stops, you hop off. I said, wow, that's interesting.
So do you know where you're going? Do people, is it for the local people, or was it okay?
It was definitely for the local people. Yeah.
Very interesting. There have been some times where, especially during my time in South America, that I would take buses to different little cities or towns, and sometimes the bus would just stop in the middle of nowhere, and then someone's just standing there.
Yeah.
And there's no bus stop. I'm like, how does anyone know that this is an actual stop? This
location.
There's no markers, there's no indicators. Sometimes there's not even a house, and I'm like, where did this person
come from?
I still to this day don't know how some of those bus stops work even.
Interesting.
Yeah. So what have you been up to travel-wise?
Well, much like everyone else during this pandemic, I think for me, I've been quarantining alone, of course, and being a traveler, I was getting to the point where I was getting a little antsy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I enjoyed the time being home, but I was ready to get out and go
Yeah.
somewhere. So I was staying abreast of like travel updates and when countries and borders were opening up to U.S. travelers. So I noticed that Aruba had very limited restrictions. This was maybe 3 months ago or so. And so I said, well, you know, I'm negative from a COVID perspective. I've been quarantining alone. I think I'm going to go and take a chance. And I did. I just did it for a weekend. And surprisingly, their what would you say? Their restrictions were not limited. The only thing they required was to quarantine if you did not have a negative COVID test within like 3 days or so. I mean, you had to be tested there upon arrival and then stay within your hotels. And then they also had like a 10 p.m. curfew. But other than that, I mean, I was definitely surprised by just how open they were and how receptive they were to U.S. travelers. Given the news and whatnot.
Right. So when you mean like stay at your hotel, like you're not allowed to leave the hotel or resort? How does that work?
So, so upon entering the airport, you were given a COVID test. And if you didn't have paperwork showing that you had tested negative upon check-in, then you were given like a care package and told to stay within your room versus wandering around the property. However, knowing that I was negative, I said, well, you know, who's gonna know? So I took my chances, and during the 6 to 8 hour period in which their test results would return, I just kind of wandered a little bit around the property until I was notified by the Aruba government that I was negative and free to roam.
I see what you mean. So you have to wait in your hotel room until you get your results back. I like that.
I wasn't mad at it.
That seems very safe and efficient way to like do things. And so Aruba is like wide open. I've been seeing a lot of people. I've been seeing everyone's travel pics at Aruba. I've never been.
Oh wow.
To Aruba, but definitely people's pictures have made me want to go, and it seems like one of the, like, it's never been high on my list, but I might have to like bump it up there because, you know, my long list of places is very short as far as where I can actually go. So Aruba might be up there. So.
Easy in, easy out.
So
sure.
How are they wearing masks? Like how is it being out there? Like you said, it's wide open, essentially.
So what I have found, in addition to Aruba, I've been to 2 other countries in the last 3 months, I guess it is. And a lot of countries are attempting to enforce wearing masks, and they are enforcing curfews. So for example, Mexico, I went to Tulum. October, late October for a birthday. And just given how important tourism is to Mexico, you know, they had the placards up about wearing masks and the hand sanitizer everywhere. But from what I understand, they couldn't necessarily enforce it across the board. Just, you know, being cautious about offending travelers, which I thought was kind of odd. But
that's interesting.
But for the most part, the curfews were very serious. The government held strict to that. And then, you know, we were masked up, of course.
Now, do they require any type of testing when you return or when you come back to the States after traveling internationally?
I think, you know, just here recently they have encouraged that, but during the September, October time frame, that really wasn't the messaging. And I did get a test upon return from Santo Domingo. I went there kind of mid-September, but that was just because I felt like I needed to. But I think now more than ever, it's probably more enforced.
When you talk to the local people there, and they're like, what's going on in the States? Like, is it crazy? Or they're like, do they think like
they think we're nuts? And yes, they think that it is absolutely crazy right now in the U.S. Matter of fact, I met a young man who this was in Tulum, and he was visiting from Uganda, I believe.
Okay.
So he was an expat, and he was first out the gate like, what is going on in the U.S.? Is it really, as bad? And I'm like, yeah, it is. So he was thinking, maybe I need to stay in Uganda a little longer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think what's being communicated abroad or broadcast abroad is just how crazy it is.
Yeah,
in the US.
yeah. As far as the pandemic goes, like our numbers are just like astonishingly high, and it seems like in comparison, I mean, we're a big country, but in comparison to other places, it just doesn't. It seems like we have just gotten the worst of it. So
indeed.
Well, I'm sure everyone. I haven't traveled in a while, so I'm like, what are people saying about us around the world? Like,
it's not good. It's not good.
All right. Well, I got some of these cards. Everyone knows I got the pod decks. These interview cards. I think they're fun and cute way, and a nice way to kind of get to know you.
Okay.
So, you live here in Atlanta. Are you originally from Atlanta?
No, I'm not. So, probably no surprise, but I am a military brat.
Okay.
And an Air Force veteran.
Oh, wow. Yes. And I'm sure with that all you did, like, it seems like probably all of your life, all you have known is traveling.
Yeah, indeed. My dad was in the Army, so usually the Army branch travels a lot more than some of the others in most cases.
Yeah.
So, I think I went to about 8 or 9 schools, including 2 high schools, one abroad and one here in the States.
Okay, where abroad were you?
I lived in Germany for 3.5 years.
Germany,
Mannheim.
My mom was also a military brat, so all of like my aunts and uncles, they lived in Germany for a little bit. So that's cool. That's cool. And how was the Air Force for you as far as traveling and in general?
Well, I kind of missed the boat on that. So in the Air Force, I got stationed in Texas and stayed there until I separated from the Air Force.
Okay.
So didn't do much traveling.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. I made up for it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. All right. So first question from the deck. All right, which band or artist, dead or alive, would play at your funeral?
I'm at Prince. Oh my gosh. Yes, the last concert of his, of course. And anyone who knows me knows that.
Like they're like, we're playing Prince for this funeral.
Yes.
I love that. All right.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. Absolutely. All right. Next question from the deck. When were your parents most disappointed in you?
Wow, that's a good one. You know what? In a twisted way, when I told them that I was going into the Air Force, I think because my dad, you have to know the high school teenage me.
Yeah.
Like that was the furthest thing, from my mind, or one would just never have thought that I would even consider going into the military.
Right.
So I think my parents wanted me to, I don't know, probably do the general path, go straight to college and pursue my career. So I would say they were probably initially disappointed, but then after, I went in and started my path, I think they were pleased.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that is very interesting. And what do you do now?
So now I work for a consulting firm. My career path and profession is in program management, change management, project management.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. And you like it?
I've been doing it for some time. I don't want to date myself, but long enough to make a living.
And make a living. And I'm sure that's something that still keeps you traveling as well, right?
It does, depending on the client and the body of work.
Yeah.
I could travel every week, could be 1 week out the month. It just really depends. But over the course of my career, throughout my profession, it has afforded me the opportunity to travel to probably, I don't know, 35 states.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next question out of the deck. If you could undo one moment in your life, what would it be?
Wow.
And then I almost have a follow-up question
Uh-oh.
to that one. Yes.
These are getting harder. Okay, let's see. If I could undo a thing in my life. There are probably several, but let's see. I would say maybe one is when I went to Cape Town.
Okay.
I would have prepared better.
Okay.
Because I ended up my camera ended up dying. I didn't have like a backup. So I missed like a bunch of photo opportunities. And that has stayed with me. Like this was, I don't know, 2010.
Yeah.
So for 10 years I've been carrying this, and because of that, I'm going back to Cape Town. Yes, recreate that moment.
Okay, I like that. You know, my follow-up question was, like, if you could undo one trip, what would it be? And so you answered. There it is. And I say this anytime someone like says Cape Town, I absolutely freak out because that's my favorite place, and all my listeners and followers know, like, as soon as like Cape Town pops up, like my ears are like, what? Like, what are you about to say?
Okay. Noted.
Yeah, I love Cape Town, and so I'm jealous you're going back. And I'll say, like, that was one of my first times out of the country was going to Cape Town, and I made a lot of travel mistakes myself. I'd say the biggest one was, I didn't really think about this, but this was Cape Town's probably as south as I've ever gone.
Okay, below the equator.
Yeah, and I made the trip during summer because I was free, but it was, you know, it's their winter there, so it was relatively cold.
Okay.
It was cold for Cape Town.
Yeah.
You know, and so I felt like all the things that I wanted to do were very like outside, outdoors, and I wanted to be outside all day. I did a little bit of surfing, and it was just too cold. And it was like very dry. It was very like dry, cold, and so I just like didn't prepare clothing wise. I prepared for a little bit of, you know, on the warmer side. You say south anything, and I immediately think it's gonna be warm.
Right. Peace weather.
Yeah.
No.
But and I was still like a novice in traveling, and I didn't like consider like type of year of when I should go somewhere, you know, and going there, I made me like research. Okay, if I want to go, you know, to Southeast Asia, I realistically should go, you know, during a certain time of year because of like their weather and like the monsoons and the rain, and like I don't want to like spend a whole month in a country and it's just raining the whole time. So that Cape Town taught me a lot as a traveler, and I can't wait to go back. So when are you going? Well, I guess like you don't like. I ask people that, and like I'm like, no one knows.
No one knows.
But you're like, it's on the agenda.
Everything's on the agenda, and I say there's without promoting an app, but there's an app that I use like when I research flights and whatnot, and it now has a live map showing the countries that are open or have limited restrictions or what have you. So I'm planning my birthday trip, which is in January, and so I use that to try and figure out, okay, where can I go? Not so much where do I want to go, but where can I go that's open? So I don't know when I'll make it back to Cape Town though. No.
You got any trips coming up for the holidays?
Gosh, well, you know, my birthday is a holiday, so January 9th to be exact. So I always try and go somewhere for my birthday. So this year I'm doing, next year I'm doing something somewhat different. I've been wanting to be abroad for New Year's, but with the limitations and restrictions, it's somewhat limited where I can go. So right now I'm looking at an adventure, I'll call it, that will have me somewhere to celebrate the new year and then carry over into my birthday.
Okay,
So
I
I'm
see.
still doing some research. Zanzibar was supposed to be my place for this particular birthday,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah, the holidays, I've only spent one, like Christmas, New Year's, outside of the country, and I was in Colombia, and I was there like pretty much the beginning of December and until the beginning of January. So I did Christmas and New Year's,
Nice.
and like that was such a fun country to kind of explore different places throughout like the holiday times, because it's very festive, you know, there's lights everywhere, like there, and like when I was in Bogota, there are some areas where people are just selling stuff real cheap, you know, and they're really trying to like, you know, push those things on as like Christmas gifts, and so you can get your Christmas shopping done like on one street easily.
Nice.
And everyone's just in a good mood. When I was in Bogota on Christmas Eve, they in the Plaza Square downtown, they had this really cool light show on the buildings in the plaza, and there were like, this is like I feel like this is crazy for me to say and like think about reliving this memory, but there were thousands of people, thousands of people in this square, you know, hanging out, and like watching the show, and they had also like kind of visually a part of what they were showing, and they were attached to like string rope, and like kind of going across the screen there would be like bugs or something like that. It was like this whole thing that they had like put on for the people, and it went on for like 30 minutes, and it was like this kind of like Colombian Christmas show that they performance, and it was incredible. And then, you know, they're very like family based, and so pretty much everything is like shut down for the week. Everyone's like at home, like people like for New Year's there, they have like families like have parties. It's not really about going out to the club or the bar and being out at midnight. It's more so about being in. Which is what we're going to be doing this year, right?
Around the world, yes.
Everyone will be in for the most part. But yeah, that was like a fun experience to be there during the holidays.
Nice.
So, but yeah, I've never been anywhere else during kind of like this time of year to like experience how other cultures are and how other countries kind of are. You know, to me, it's like I always feel like Christmas is such like an American thing, so it's like it's interesting to like be somewhere else and be like, oh no, they do Christmas just how we do Christmas.
Yeah. Nice. Colombia was on my list for this year, actually. April, I was going. About 4 of us, we were going. We were actually, I was going to make it a 2-parter. So I was going to have the girls fly into Panama and then fly into Colombia, to Cartagena. And I've been to Panama before, but the girls I was going with, they hadn't. So that got shut down though.
So these trips that you take, is it usually you and the girls, or is it solo? Is it a mix of both?
I've done a myriad of all.
Yeah.
Basically, if I think of a place I want to go, it'll stay with me, it'll stay on me. And instead of, you know, you see the memes all the time, like, if your friends can't go, you should go anyway. That's me. I'm that girl. I'm the meme. Because, you know, I'll extend the invitation depending on the type of trip. Because I always tell folks, when I choose a destination, it's usually based on an experience I want to have.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes that experience isn't about anybody else sharing with me. It's just me.
Right.
So yeah, it just really depends.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so for your birthday trip, you're trying to get a crew together, huh?
No, actually this year no crew.
No crew?
No crew. So here's the thing. A few years ago, gosh, I'd be dating myself if I said it was a milestone birthday. Let's say that. I went to Bali.
Yeah.
But in the months preceding that, I wanted to extend the invitation to just whoever was available in my circle. And I was like, I'm gonna, plan everything as I always do. And as luck would have it, no one got their stuff together in time to go. So I ended up going with one young lady who lived in California, who was a friend of a friend, had always wanted to go to Bali. So we went and it was amazing. And after that, I think 2 or 3 birthdays after that, I said, you know what? I don't want to plan my birthday for anyone else.
Yeah.
I want to enjoy it. I want to be concerned about myself. I want to be a little selfish. So I went to Nice and Monaco. And in telling one of my friends about it, one of my guy friends who travels a lot, he was like, oh my God, can I go with you? I promise I won't be a burden. You won't have to plan anything for me. I said, well, you can meet me there, but this is where I'm staying, and you're free to come, but just know I'm not going to be catering to you.
Yeah.
He was fine, and we had a great time.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it depends.
Yeah, it all depends.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, that's all the questions I really have for you.
Okay.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on the show and talking to us about travel and what you've been up to. Do you have any advice or tips for people that are, because I feel like right now, even people that weren't traveling, they might be traveling for the holidays. Do you have any tips for people going anywhere, going to the airport, how things are done right now?
That's a great question, and thank you. And first of all, thank you for having me.
Yes.
Travel is my love language.
Yes.
So I live it, breathe it, what have you. I have the 5 passports to prove it. But the interesting thing right now about travel, which places are open, airports are open, and whatnot. And I find that during this time right now, it is probably the best time to travel.
Okay.
Largely because although they're showing that there's a lot of crowds and things of that nature, it's obviously not as much not in comparison to prior to COVID, right? So what's happening is getting through the airport easy breezy, even if you're not pre-checked or clear.
Yeah.
And then the flights, the fleet, they are so clean. You could almost eat off the floor. If I was that type of individual, you literally could almost eat off the floor of these planes. I mean, they are putting so much attention and care into ensuring that they are thoroughly cleaned and sanitized. That now is the best time to travel.
Yeah,
honestly.
that's good to hear. Thank you for that little tidbit.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because I think so too, and I think that there's a safe way that a lot of us can still travel in the industry. Is hurting, and it's going to need us to slowly get out there when the time is right. One person I know that she's a flight attendant for Delta. She's hoping to go back in February, so that's good to at least hear that they're starting to ask for people back, and more people are starting to get their jobs back, because the travel industry is one of those that have taken a huge hit. So yeah. Well, yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was so nice to meet you and talk to you, and sometimes I find people on Instagram and I'm like, that person, I like this person's travel style, they're doing it in a very classy way, and just really I can tell when someone is embracing their environment around them, and really soaking in the travel experience, and I think you do that very well.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you.
So I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate everyone out there that is either listening or watching. Make sure you, follow me on all the stuff if you haven't already.
all the social media platforms.
I know. It's like,
that was cute.
You guys know, it's like Blackpacking podcast, everything. Like, when in doubt, if you're like, oh, where can I find Blackpacking podcast on Twitter? Like, it's Blackpacking podcast.
Done. One and done.
Yeah. So, you all like reach out to me. Let me know if you have any questions. If you have any tips that you want to share, anything, reach out to me. I'm here. And y'all have a great holiday. We are almost out of this year.
Unbelievable.
Which is really exciting in so many ways. I've like already been telling people like Happy New Year. Like I'm already there. Like I'm already in 2021. So everyone, be safe out there. Travel safely, of course. There is a way to do it, and be safe about it. And also like be mindful when you are traveling, being in other places. Being in their place. Being respectful of what their rules are and what they got going on. So that's the advice I got, and that's all I got for today. Until the next time, I'm out.
Thank you.